What makes Delta blues Delta blues? When most of us think about Delta blues, we think of a big, powerful sound. I know I do. I think about Charlie Patton and those big, huge strums, or Robert Johnson and the craziness that is Crossroads. It's exciting, and there really is a lot going on there, but some of the most powerful Delta blues moments come from simple, single-note lines that just get straight to the point. In this lesson, I'll show you how to get that sound with an arrangement in the style of Son House's Depot Blues. By the end of this lesson, you'll have the techniques to stand out and play this snappy little line. Here's the cool part. When you pair these single note passages with those big sounds, both hit harder. So let's dig in. When I listen to Depot Blues, those snappy single notes cut straight through, and that's the power of a single well-placed note. And getting this right, getting that sound dialed in, is the foundation for everything that we're going to cover in this lesson. And yes, note choice matters. It matters a lot, and we're going to get to that, but the real win here is how to go from something that sounds like this to this. Let's dig in. After a quick bass note, we're jumping up to train whistle territory. Here, the G on the 2nd string at the 8th fret and the B on the 1st string at the 7th fret. You can tell why it's called the train whistle, especially when you play them together and give that 8th fret 2nd string G note a bend. All right, now the phrase that we want to play here is, so it's just those two notes, plus we briefly go to the C sharp at the 9th fret. Let's play it slowly. And the next measure is kind of a momentary answer of that. We let that B note hang for the full 4th beat. Then we repeat bar 1. And let's pause right there because we're playing the notes, but we've got to make them snappy. So let's talk about the picking technique here. First of all, you can tell I'm playing that snap on the bass string with my thumb, just getting under it. And as soon as I pop it, I put my palm down on the string to stop it from ringing, right? We just want that punch. But the cool thing is, as I'm doing that, I'm also bringing my thumb all the way up to the 2nd string. So what's happening there is everything else is muted up to the 2nd string. And really even the 2nd string is muted because my thumb is on it, right? So we're pumping that bass and getting into position. And that gives me my index finger and my thumb to work on these top 2 strings. And what we're going to do with that 1st string is get under it and pluck out. I kind of hook my index finger, and you get a little bit of an extra bite on the note. It's a really cool thing to do, especially when you're playing these single note lines and you really want them to pack a punch. Right? You hear how that's different than this? Right? It's really spiky. It's in your face. That's what we're going for, and it's all about getting under the string and just pulling out. You don't have to do it with a lot of force, but just enough to get that snap sound. And that's where we are, leaving out the bass. Of course, we bring that in. There it is. That's that cutting sound that we're after. But here's the thing. This call and response that we've set up is asking for somewhere to go. So let's take a look at how we can answer that call. The phrases we just learned pack a punch on their own, but the blues is a conversation, and we've set up a moment that just needs resolution. We've got our call, and now it needs a response. We can answer this call right here in train whistle land, but let's move down the neck. This position shift is going to do a couple things for us. Yes, we're going to melodically answer the call, but we're also going to connect to a different part of the fretboard where we're going to lean into some chord changes. Let's have a look at how this works. For this lick, we're really using this as a way to pull us forward in the progression, and we need that answer to the calls that we've set up. So what we're doing is keeping that bass the same, pumping that on beat 1, and then using our same 3 notes here, but incorporating the open string. And once we do that, we need to get moving. That's a cool thing about incorporating open strings in your acoustic blues licks. That gives you a chance to move off of the fretboard and change positions. That's exactly what we're doing here. We're still working with strings 2 and 1, and after that open first string, I play the open second, and that's where I need to be over that D note on the second string to finish my phrase. Now listen to how this, as the end of the sentence from the first 3 bars, really completes the idea. Hear how that kind of lands the plane, answers the call, and it sets us up perfectly for what's coming next over A7. Let's look at that. We're now punching our A note, the 5th string open, and then playing a simple line using that same thumb on the 2nd string and index finger hooked under the 1st picking setup and snapping our way through these treble notes. So that's the G, and then down to the F sharp, and I'm kind of playing it with this A7 in mind so that I'm keeping that bar intact where I can just play that C sharp right under the bar. That's the first phrase, and then the second just builds a little bit of tension there to move us along. With 2 slow blues bends on that G note. And where we're going from there is back to E. Cool. Now we've got a real conversation happening where each part plays on the other. And so far we just focused on playing a single note at a time, which is great, but there are definitely a few big moments in a 12-bar blues progression that just beg for something bigger. And that's where our next element comes in. Those single note lines that we've been working with are the heart of this piece, no doubt about it, but the Delta blues needs those big moments too. And the best spots to me come later in the progression when we hit the E chord again, and then something really special is going to happen in bars 9 and 10. Let's take a look at that. Now these 2 measures over E are where we start to bring in elements of that bigger sound with some strums, but we've got a little setup measure first. It's really cool. We start out by playing the 2 outer E's, just open, and then climb up on the 3rd string from the 2nd up to the 4th. Then a quick open string, and then hammer into our E major chord here, right? Real classic blues move where we play the minor 3rd, which is G, up to the G sharp, the major 3rd. One more time slower. Then we're going to play the B from the chord and start strumming here. So we've got that B, and then I'm doing a brush up and then down with my index finger. This is where we're bringing in that slightly increased energy here. Bass, down strum, all right? But things are really going to get wild in the next 2 measures. After we do this, we really quickly revisit that B, but we're headed to what would normally be a B7 in this part of a 12-bar blues progression, but we're actually going to go to a C sharp 7. It's the same chord shape, just moved up 2 frets, including that open string, right? So we've got our C sharp here, 4th fret, 5th string. Then what we do is start incorporating a lot more of those strums and switching between the C sharp 7 and the B7. Here's what it sounds like. Now we can really dial up the snap here by snapping a little bit on the 5th string. Let's talk about those strums. It's an up strum and a down strum. And and then shift the chord. We're shifting on the and of 2, so a little bit before where you think you would switch, right? On top of beat 3. And then it's an up and a down. And then finally, to go back to E, we're just going to do a little breath stroke that's up through the open strings. Not really a feature, just a way to kind of get us into the chord change here. So now we've got the full delta sound, those punchy, focused single notes, and we're balancing them with those big moments. Let me show you how all of this fits together into one 12-bar blues package. Earlier, we added a few of those bigger moments to our single note lines, and that really helps us get the full delta sound, but that doesn't have to be complicated. Click right here to watch this video next, where I'm going to show you how to create that driving blues sound using just your thumb and index finger. I'll see you there. Until then, practice smart and play on.